think in Musk's case, it's quite, listen, I've been the biggest critic of Elon Musk, but I've also been his biggest supporter. And I know people don't see the support side. Number one, and this is his engineering mind at work, because he is an engineer. In my interactions with him, he doesn't think like other people. He comes at everything in a mathematical and engineering. He came up and backed our play. And folks got to understand, and this is very important in British politics, is that the pressure around Trump is always to moderate. The pressure on Trump is not to be the savage. The pressure on Trump is not to be like we like him, right? Don't give two Fs. Let's just roll, because that's what the people want. And it's always this thing. The biggest thing they try getting to moderate on is to go after the mythic suburban woman. If you just tone it down, there's a whole group of mythic suburban women out there that are going to come your way. And I say that's ridiculous. We have the MAHA, the Make America Healthy Again moms, but they're the cutting edge of a new political movement. That's not the traditional suburban mom. Elon Musk understood that this theory of the case, that you had this MAGA movement and this election would be a MAGA plus. That you had the MAGA base that had President Trump's back, plus you had low information, low propensity voters that were out there in the hinterland, but you got to go dig those out, and they will vote for Trump. And the other plus was that you had a little bit of these tech bros that could come along, right? They don't bring a lot of votes, but it's a lot of media attention. And you had the Make America Healthy Again mothers. Those mothers that have been awakened or red-pilled, mainly Obama voters, that have been red-pilled during the pandemic and now are at the cutting edge of this kind of, anti-Department of Health, anti-Fauci group that we could get. He backed that play. And how did he back that play? He put $250 million cash money in 5 months. When people talk about the United States and about the amount of billionaires putting in money, always remember, when you talk about the Adelsons putting 100 million, or some people putting 100 million, that's normally over a cycle. That's a 4-year cycle. Elon Musk wrote $250 million worth of checks in 5 months to back the ground game, not fancy commercials, but really the ground game. All that professional layer you had to put in on the self-organizing effort, plus the data. And it's what I think, no doubt, was a massive part of the, not just taking the presidency, but also holding the House and taking the Senate, and particularly piercing the blue wall. And Elon, when he went on stage all the time, was also all the time talking about the precinct strategy, talking about canvassing, talking about get out the vote, talking about those nuts and bolt things about how Trump wins. Number two, I've been kind of the father of this concept of deconstruction of the administrative state. I came up in 2017 and said, we have to take out this bureaucracy. Later, I saw how the deep state part of it tried to destroy Trump, and I said, this thing's got to go. Doge coming in is kind of what you need. We have an official government part of that, the Office of Management and Budget, but they're kind of limited in their impact of what someone like Elon can bring, plus the engineering expertise, and that's what he's done. What he's done so far, he's doing a line diagram on literally the U.S. government, which surprisingly, it's quite complicated to know how it works. His whole memo from OMB, the OMB memo, was to find out where in this vast system the cash is. And we know there's $5 trillion going out. And now we realize it's in every House district. It's Meals on Wheels. It's Head Start. It's after school programs. It's Medicaid. It's everywhere. His second part, and this is where it got even more controversial, is he said, hey, that's where the money is. I have to be where the checks are written, where it comes from a authorization of Congress to actually Treasury sending the cash into your account. That's what, over the weekend, he's basically got a team in there. Now, Scott Bess, I know very well, saying they have read-only ability. They don't have the ability to really stop checks. They don't have the ability to actually redo checks. But he's adding benefit to the fact of USAID, which is so controversial. It's $50 billion a year. So it's huge in the grand scheme of cutting a deficit. It's not going to solve our problem. But he identified that, and he worked with people to actually shut it down and freeze and make sure nobody could get into the building until they figure it out. So President Trump has this authorization in the Constitution. If the Democrats don't think so, go to court. They've already gone to court, and we'll see how these lawsuits play out. And Elon is an advisor and a consultant. I agree that there's going to be issues about data. There's going to be issues about personal information that has to be hermetically sealed by the department in charge, whether it's vested in Treasury, whether it's rush vote over at OMB. I'm sure those things are being done. President Trump's obviously very concerned about that too. President Trump just came out and said, hey, the guy does what I want him to do. And if he comes to an idea I don't like, I don't do it. So I'm in charge. right? He just said this on the tarmac yesterday. He said it in another, I think, interview last night. He says, I'm in charge. This guy's not co-president. He's an advisor. He's doing good work. And where I don't think it's good, I won't let him do it. So in that case, and remember, I have big issues with Elon Musk, but my guidance to Europe is the following. This guy has the two tactical nuclear weapons of modern politics. He has unlimited money. And when I say unlimited money, he is a guy that could write a $250 million check in 5 months and it doesn't affect his lifestyle. Okay? I don't know of anybody else in the world that could do that. Number two, he has a powerful social media platform and he can bind what he binds and he can loose what he looses. He can put you up and make you a rock star, or he can bury you in the basement, because he's not a free speech absolutist at all. He can bury you in the basement and never to be seen again. There's not a centrist or center-left government in all the continent that could withstand the onslaught of an Elon Musk that backed a populist party. And I think you're going to see, we're going to have a first test with Alternative for Deutschland. I think you're going to see it. But the people in the United Kingdom and people in the continent ought to know that I believe this guy's going to be in your life and you're going to have to deal with it. Now, here we're having a big fight with him about this. It's not just about H-1B visas. It's about the central beating heart of the economic model of the apartheid state of Silicon Valley, which is American labor is too expensive, right? American labor is not compliant. They got an attitude because they're Americans, right? And they're citizens. So we want labor, particularly in algorithmic companies, which most of these are, labor's the whole cost. So we want labor that costs 50% less. And we want labor that's totally compliant to these outrageous demands we make of the length of time they work and what they have to do. And the way they do that is by importing not more skilled labor. That's the lie. It's not even as skilled. Lower skilled tech workers to come in and undercut the American labor. And they do this across the board. This is not about bringing genes. This is not bringing Einsteins in. We have a program to bring Einsteins in. We brought in 1,200 German rocket scientists post-war up into the Mercury program, of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of engineers that were working on those programs, and we brought 1,200. There's room in the United States to bring in the best if you have to bring